What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. We're still doing 3 videos a week. So, we don't want you to miss out on any of those future videos. So make sure you're subscribed and I got the notifications on and all that good stuff. I appreciate all you guys tuning in each and every video. Commenting down below. I see it. I reply to every comment, and I appreciate all you guys always tuning in and watching the videos. So it is winter already. Can't believe it, but it is this time of year where, where I grew up, in Pennsylvania, really you kind of started shutting down kind of the open water bass fishing. And December was always like a weird period where you didn't have any ice to ice fish, and you didn't have much open water or enough warm weather to go fishing in the boat. So it's kind of that in-between zone. And, this is a time of year where I always like to take a look at all my equipment and do a few maintenance things. And I'm going to show you something here today that it's really, really important that you do this to your equipment to maintain the life. It's going to help you catch more fish in the spring once you get back out there, and help you so you don't lose fish coming in the spring. But I'll give you a hint. It has to do with your reels. So you can make sure you stay tuned. I'll walk you through the whole process on what I like to do each and every off season to keep your reels in tip-top shape. Okay, so like I mentioned, this is the time of year where you're not necessarily doing as much fishing, and your reels may be sitting idle for a couple months, definitely a few weeks at a time, where you're not going out fishing. These reels are just sitting idle, whether it's in your garage or in your boat or wherever you store your equipment. But there's a couple things that I like to do when they're going to be stored for a long period of time. For me personally, I get pretty particular with my equipment. So a lot of times I'll take all the reels off of the rods. I like to clean them. You see this one's pretty clean right here. You can see he's already been cleaned, wiped down pretty good. I still got some line on there because I wasn't sure if I'd still be fishing with him this fall. But you look at one like this, and that is nasty. That is dirty, nasty. I fished with him, obviously with a frog and some slop. And, it is just a mess of gunk and garbage on that reel. So I just like to take a microfiber towel with a little bit of water, a little bit of soapy water, a little bit of any kind of cleaning agent on there, and, just kind of wipe down the reels, get all that heavy gunk off of there. Definitely, all of that old grass and stuff, you can see it just coming off there. But, I like to keep my stuff clean and tip-top shape. So you got to keep it clean. Now, if you're a little more mechanically inclined, you can, kind of oil your bearings. You can grease the worm gear up here, but that's pretty advanced stuff. So if you don't really know what you're doing, or if you're prone to mess things up like me, I try not to mess with that. I let the professionals handle that kind of stuff. That way I don't mess anything up. But I always like to make sure I keep them nice and clean. But most importantly, if you're going to let your reels sit for a while, you want to make sure you loosen up your drag all the way. This is going to save the life of your drag. So basically your drag is just compressed against a washer that essentially has friction that will, allow it to spin or, not allow it to spin the tighter you crank that down. So if you leave your reels always cranked down like that, and all that pressure on those drag washers, eventually what it does is it kind of flattens them out. It squeezes them too much and they stay squeezed. They never, they kind of change shape on what they're supposed to be, and it loses its effectiveness over time. And you may see that as the drag just slip once in a while. You set the hook, you have everything cranked down, you set the hook, but your drag just slips for some reason. Well, that's because your drag washers are getting worn out. So, a simple tip you can do is just make sure you loosen up your drag all the way when it's going to sit for a long time. Like if you're going to sit it for the winter, You know, loosen up your drag all the way. I always like to do the same with my spool tension. Just anything where there's tension, you know, there's friction there. I want to make sure that's loosened up, and that way you don't have that stuff just sitting there pressurized for, you know, months on end for no reason. So I do the same thing with my spinning reels as well. You want to make sure you loosen that drag up and keep that nice and loose as you can get it is the best. That way it just doesn't have that pressure on there. Now for me, typically I like to take all of the reels or all of the line off of my reels in the winter. I like to store them with no line on them just because that line, after it sits for a few months, especially fluorocarbon, it's going to have so much memory on it that you're going to need new line in the spring anyway. So why not just take it off now, get everything nice and neat and clean and organized and ready for next year. So that's how I store my reels. I'm curious what you guys do. Have you used any of these same methods? Do you keep your stuff clean? Do you always wipe everything down at the end of the year? Do you take the line off every year? Do you leave it on? I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. So appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. Hopefully you guys learned something from this. This is something that I learned, you know, kind of growing up, where I didn't have a whole lot of reels. I didn't have the best equipment. And when I did buy a good reel, I wanted to make sure it lasted. So I kind of learned these tips, and it's helped me, you know, keep my stuff nice for a long time. So hopefully it can help you guys do the same. But pro tip, whenever you spool them up in the spring, make sure you remember to tighten everything up. Tighten up that drag. You know, you'll get out there, your first bite, your drag will still be loose, and you'll set the hook and it'll just spin. I may or may not have been guilty of that a time or two, but pro tip, make sure you remember to tighten things back down when you spool them back up in the spring. But anyway, appreciate you guys as always. Leave all those likes, comments down below. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time.